It's time now for the Casey Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Well, good morning and welcome back. Another Wednesday at the Casey Ingram Show and another great organization that's here in the studio with me today, as well as we have somebody on the line. So before we get into the show today, which is going to be a super important topic here in Martin County and frankly all over the country, but we're going to speak very much to the numbers that are happening here in Martin County, and that's with the homeless population. Before we get into that, I want to remind everybody that you can sign up for a weekly reminder of who the special guest will be in the show, and you can do that at my website, thecaseyingramshow.com. Just head over there, and you'll see the sign up pop up, and if you don't see that come in your email box the day before the show, check your spam folders. Sometimes it does end up there. And also, former sponsor Meridian Marina, they have a boat that was a dealer demo and need to get it sold. It brand new. This boat's a $90,000 boat. It's a Tiburon ZX25. This thing flies. It's really fast. A lot of fun. It's a flats boat. It's 25 feet long and blowing it out at $59,900. And the neat thing about this is it's brand new. It has a 5-year warranty on the motor. It's never been registered. It's a Suzuki 200 horsepower motor. So a lot of some flats fishing. You'll enjoy it or go out to the sandbar. Great little boat, blue and you want some more information, just message me or 888-5828 and I can put you in touch on that Tiburon ZX25. So that's a super blowout deal. So in the studio, to my very right here, I have Yvette Gregory. How are you doing this morning, Yvette?
Wonderful. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, and very much looking forward to this show. And in the back, we have Brenda Dickerson. And Brenda, you guys are with LAHIA, which is Love and Hope in Action.
Correct.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And on the line, and make sure I have Kenny Hinkle. Kenny, are you on the line with us?
Yes, I am.
Kenny, it's good to have you. For those of you who know Kenny Hinkle, you've probably seen him in the area a lot, working on advocating for our waters, stopping the discharges, cleaner waters here in the area. But Kenny has moved north. He's in the Carolinas now, North Carolina. And as always, as a community advocate, always there to help people. And Kenny's been working a lot with the homeless in the Asheville, North Carolina area. So we're going to talk about some of the experiences you've had as well, Kenny.
Okay.
So let's start out. Brenda, I'm going to start with you today. Tell me a little bit about LAHIA.
We pronounce it LAHIA.
There we go. Sorry.
Long I. Back in 2007, there was a group of concerned citizens, community folks here in Martin County that realized we had quite a population of homeless folks, and we thought the least we can do is go ahead and try to feed them. So for 2 years, on a Saturday afternoon, we just had a cookout in the backyard of a local church where a few of us were attending, had a gospel service, and that's what we did for the first couple of years. Worked out of a couple of host churches for the next few years, and then we were able to start renting the place where we currently own now in 2011. At that point, we were able to open up, be open all day, 6 days a week, and offer more than just meals and the gospel. We had a food pantry, clothing pantry, could give out bicycles, place for them to get their mail, free haircuts, showers, laundry, just a whole host of basic needs that needed to be met. We were able to meet those needs.
And Brenda, I'm sure over the years you have seen these needs increase dramatically, especially I would imagine this last year with COVID.
Right. It's a pretty constant influx of new people, but I think we had close to 550 or 650 new people just in 2020.
I have some statistics here from your website. It was very informational, and it is amazing how many people you folks are helping, and grateful to your organization for doing that. It's so important here in the area. If you have a question for Yvette or Brenda or Kenny, you can type it in on the Facebook Live feed or call into the show, 772-220-9788. That's 220-WSTU. And Tony Stevens, our rocker that helped found Foghat, is joining into the show from England. And good to see you, Tony. Yvette, tell me a little bit about your function in the organization.
So I run the client services department, and that particular area of the organization assists individuals with obtaining tents, backpacks, sleeping bags, et cetera, basic needs that they would have to live in the woods. We also evaluate their financial situation, see if there's anything we can do to assist. If we can help them with medical or behavioral health issues, if we can help them to get connected to services in the area that would benefit them, we are able to make those connections. We have relationships with a variety of organizations in the community. The big thing that happened last year was that we were able to get a grant over $360,000 house and connect those with severe mental illness and potentially co-occurring substance abuse issues. So last year, we've been able to house almost 75 individuals that have severe mental health issues and potentially co-occurring substance abuse that were homeless. So I think all of us would agree that our community is much safer and better off if we have those individuals who are struggling with mental health issues housed and getting treatment. That definitely, I feel safer in my community, and I know that those individuals that are struggling with those issues do much better. Their mental health, their physical health, everything benefits as a result of being able to get somebody in a house. So.
Yvette, how are you finding your clients? And I'll say the clients for the homeless. Are you going out to homeless camps, or do they know to come to you? How can they find you?
So a lot of people are very aware of Lahaia, and they find us on our website, information from bus drivers, police, whoever. Everybody is very aware of us. However, we also have 2 outreach individuals that are hired by the organization through the PATH grant that allows us to cover 4 counties: Indian River, St. Lucie, Okeechobee, and Martin. And so those individuals actually travel to those locations where the homeless congregate and meet with them where they are and start a conversation. All we're doing is engaging them, getting to know them, finding out what their needs are. And if we can start with those small needs, then we build a relationship, and then individuals then develop trust and recognize that we are of benefit to them. So as you may or may not be aware, those with mental health issues, often that's the toughest bridge to get over that gap, is to recognize that individuals don't trust law enforcement, they don't trust the medical community, they don't trust anyone. And so building that bridge is really critical.
I would imagine the mental health issues are the toughest things to deal with out there. And Sheriff Snyder actually was just speaking about that. I think last month was Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's tough for the law enforcement officers. And then are your folks specially trained to deal with people with mental health issues when they're out there?
Absolutely. We have individuals, Dan Silvestri has been doing this for almost 20 years. So he's very accustomed to being out in the communities, in the woods, walking back in the woods and experience, engaging them at their camps. I wouldn't recommend it for everybody because it is definitely could be potentially be dangerous. That's in their eyes, their home, and they're going to protect it like it is. So we do offer them food. We take tents, we take socks, clothes, shoes, whatever we can take in the vehicle to engage them and find a way to serve those individuals out in the communities. But obviously we do get a large influx of folks right here at Lahaia. We probably in a day, we probably have 150 people to 200 people that come to our site.
Wonderful.
So we have over 1,700 individuals in our database.
Okay.
Many of them are what we call travelers. We've had travelers that travel from Washington State to Florida. We have travelers that just go up the East Coast from Key West to Jacksonville and back in a year. They just go back and forth. So I have folks that ride bikes all over the state, and so it's just, but we know them. We get to know them, get to find out who they are. And I think that's the part that's really critical, is that they're just people just like us.
Kenny, I'm going to break into you now at this point, because that's exactly what you're doing, is you're going out and putting a story with the face with many of the homeless up in Asheville. As a matter of fact, I know you've started a YouTube channel where you are starting to put your videos. Kenny, tell us a little bit about what you do and the stories that you have come across while you're helping the homeless in Asheville.
Well, I try to take pictures and video to document it all, to people, so people can actually see the numbers and what it's like to be homeless. Like she said, it's difficult and semi-dangerous just to go walking into a homeless camp. So what I try to do is find them when they're on the street, holding their signs, asking for money, and figure out who the camp leader is, and then speak with him. And one guy was Woody, who ran his camp. He was in charge of it, and he was the protector. And he said, "Hold on, let me go up first and tell everybody you're coming and you're safe and you're with me." And I went up and started talking with people up there and documenting it all. It's there's so many different stories, and there is mental health issues, of course, with some, but there's others that were one paycheck away from being homeless, and they found themselves homeless. And there's some great organizations in Asheville. Homeward Bound they put them up in the Red Roof Inn and get them job interviews. They send out their laundry to be done. I mean, it brings us a certain dignity back when you have a bed and a room and a shower and a toilet.
Yvette and Brenda, I'm sure you agree with that it's bringing dignity back, and it's for those folks that, Kenny, that breaks your heart that you're a paycheck away from being homeless. And how often do you see that here in this area? I say that because we're in Martin County, we're South Florida, and there's just so much money here. It's unbelievable, and it's hard to understand. There's so much homeless.
I think we could do more in Martin County. I really do.
Definitely. There's a lot of money here, and thank goodness for our donors, because that makes it all possible. And we're so grateful. However, that excess of money also makes housing costs exceed what anybody's able to afford. A typical 1-1, just a few years ago, somebody could get in one for like $600, $700 a month. Now it's $1,200 a month. Wow. And even if someone's on Social Security, disability, or SSI, that's $794 a month. That's all of their money for rent and more.
Food and transportation, whatever they need.
There's no way people can afford it. So it's just their only option is to be homeless. That's their only option.
Brenda, you're mainly in charge, as I understand, with the fundraising and the financials in the organization. How are you raising finances, and do you feel it's a healthy, are you getting a healthy inflow of financials, or I'm sure there can always be more, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's been surprising during COVID how people have really blessed us with donations. And to me, I believe that they were looking for opportunities to give, for organizations who are staying open to try to meet the needs of the increasing need. So people were finding us on the web, Googling us, and it was surprising how much just kept coming in. So the influx of people that we had, the needs that we had, and the excess meals. I mean, we doubled our meal service. We're very grateful to be able to keep open the entire time. We weren't shut one single day. No one got sick in our staff or our volunteers or our clientele, which was crazy. I mean, we've been going strong the whole time through. So I don't know what they would have done without the showers and the meals that we provide 6 days a week. It would have made a difficult situation even more difficult for so many people. And we had a lot of new people that came in, a lot of families. It was just all our funding has always been private donations, churches, individuals. We do some grant writing, and that's what keeps us going strong. And the first federal money that we got was the PATH program that Yvette's talking about, and that's an annual contract. So that was a huge blessing. Came in the middle of 2020. July 1st was the start date for the contract. And without that, we wouldn't have been able to house so many people. And these are the more at-risk folks that don't have a way to support themselves, and they don't know where to begin to try to get to the resources to get them out of the situation that they're in. So it's been a huge blessing to be able to get them off the streets and out of their cars into a safe environment that is sustainable.
And connect them to the resources they need. I think one thing that shocks me here the most is every time there's another organization in town, Elevate Hope,
Yes.
every time they run across a homeless student,
Mhm.
it's so sad, and
Heartbreaking.
it is heartbreaking to be that young and in that position to be homeless. So these organizations, this is absolutely wonderful that you're out here to help these people,
Yeah.
take a step up and get to the right connections, and whether it's housing or transportation, food, of course, the very minimal things. So, Kenny, I'm going to switch back to you for a second. And Iggy, we're going to start here. Kenny, I know you've been out in the homeless camps a lot. You have some photos, and we're going to start with photo number 1. Just tell us a little bit about these people's story as we go through these photos. And I think if you know which one
Can
I'm
you tell me
talking
which
about.
one we're looking at?
Yeah, the man is sitting on the bench with a green bag with his head in his lap.
The man was sleeping. That's how he was sleeping.
It's how he's sleeping
In a chair.
just out in the street.
Yep, in the middle of downtown Asheville, and it just came to my mind like that's his bed. That's where he sleeps. He has to lean over a green blanket, sitting up, and sleeping
With no shelter. No shelter. And that's what we all have to
shelter.
realize how different this is. The next photo is a gentleman sitting on the wall, and there's somebody, another lady with a dog.
They are all homeless. The lady and the little girl, that was her daughter, and their dog, and they live out of a van. And they were talking to, and he was a little reluctant to be on camera. But after I'd spoken with the little girl and the mother, they talked him into letting me take the picture.
What about education with the little girl and here locally, Brenda and Yvette? How are they getting to school, and what happens when you find a child that's homeless?
So
the poor girl was 9 years old and missing most of her teeth because she's probably never seen a dentist. Of course, teeth naturally fall out when you're a child, but it was sad to me that she'd never seen a dentist.
It is sad. The photos that you provided, Kenny, just give insight into this is an epidemic that's happening here around the country. And here locally with the kids, what happens when you run across a child?
So children are, there's over 600 children in Martin County that are homeless.
Over 600 children.
Mm-hmm. And Elevate Hope does a lot for helping connect them to the resources that they need. So, but connecting them to the school system has a process in place to help those individuals who are homeless and give them free lunch, free breakfast. Getting them into school is the primary thing. That's the first thing we want to do. All of that takes paperwork. Shots, birth certificates, all of that. And we find a lot of folks who show up homeless don't have any of that. So that's the big start, is you got to get that rolling. You got to get the birth certificates. You've got to get the paperwork that's necessary, get them their shots if they haven't got them. So we reach out to the different health departments or different communities wherever they're born, and we're able to purchase those items for them so that they can get started in the school system. And then from there, then we can begin to work with the parents in order to get them where they need to be, depending on what the situation is.
That's incredible. We all take it for granted. We all have it either. And to think about it, when folks are homeless,
Right.
And of course, a birth certificate is probably not one of the things they consider to be one of the important things to tag along with them.
Well, not only that, it's typically paper, and you're living in the woods. It rains, everything. So your social security card and your birth certificate first to go. They're not gonna, and it's a very vulnerable situation. So people steal from you constantly. So things come up missing consistently. Wallets, purses, anything that's available in a tent. It's a ban. If the tent is left for even a moment, people come in or they'll beat them up and take it. So it's a rough very vulnerable situation. So I have people that say, well, I should sell my car so that, I'll get money. And I said, no, you need your car for security and safety. You can lock your car. You can stay in it for security. So
that's a basic thing if you happen to be lucky enough to have a vehicle, right?
Yep.
Kenny, let's move on a little bit here. The next two photos are the same area. The black and white one, I think, is the family we already spoke about. But the photo above that, you have some folks. Obviously, it's a part of a camp. It looks like sitting on a bench, and they have their belongings with them.
Yep. Yeah. They're living in the park in the middle of downtown Asheville. The police rounded up a lot of the camps and dropped them off in the middle of Asheville, and they put a porta potty there. That's all they have.
So talk about that here locally a little bit, if you would, Brenda or Yvette. What happens with the homeless here in the camps? How many camps are around in the county, would you say? And what do the police do when they come across these camps? Are the folks allowed to stay there, or?
We're very fortunate. We have a community officers division with Martin County Sheriffs, and they partner with the homeless to find a location for them that's going to work the best. If there's a camp, go in and they talk to them. They help, they'll help. The officers are amazing. So we don't have the issue, which there's been other counties that have just kind of, well, we're going to move you from one county to the next county. I'm going to just drive you to the next one, drop you off.
Pass the problem on, so to speak, right?
We don't have that here.
Wonderful.
If we have a situation where somebody is getting a lot of phone calls or there's medical issues or whatever, these officers are right there to get them to the hospital if necessary, or to provide the assistance that's needed. So we're very, very grateful for that.
We are very lucky here in Martin County. This community is a very caring community and has always reached out, and no matter what the issue is. And this is got to thank our sheriff's department for that. So a lot of that. Brenda, tell us before we're going to be taking a break here in just a couple minutes. But if folks want to go to your website, where do they go? And obviously they can donate there.
Right. It's www.lahia, which is our acronym for Love and Hope in Action. www.lahia.org.
And you can certainly go there and you'll see about all the wonderful things that LaHia does. When we come back after the break, we're going to discuss that even more in depth, because you just touched on some really important aspects of what the homeless go through, and not having IDs, and then not having safety and security over their head, and having to make those tough decisions, and of course the mental illness that's out there. So, and all this is in one camp. I mean, it's all, there's children, there's mentally ill, there's people that are just down on their luck. It's just, and you got the travelers, as you said. So, just an astounding issue here in the community. Kenny, there's one more photo I'll go over before the break, and that's the last one. A gentleman holding a stick with a purple parka on. Looks like he's a traveler, if I were to guess, but I have no idea.
He carries that for defense. That sometimes they have to protect themselves from each other or others. A lot of times people snub the homeless. I found out a very important thing, that they qualify for the stimulus package. So I took 3 people down to a tax office, 3 different camp leaders, and they were issued economic impact cards.
Kenny, I got to break you off here. We're going to take a short break, but we'll pick it up right after the break.
Sure.
And we are back in the studio. We have a wonderful organization here in Martin County called LaHaya, Love and Hope in Action. And they are here to really help the homeless and in so many different ways. And we're going to really get into that a little more this second half hour. And folks, of course, they always need help, and mainly financially. With money, you can buy whatever is needed rather than items. And I don't know, do you folks take items as well?
Mhm.
They take items as well. I'm sitting right here to my right is Yvette Gregory, and to the back here in the center is Brenda Dickerson, and they are both from LaHaya, Love and Hope in Action. And on the phone, I also have Kenny Hinkle, who is an advocate that spent his life here in Martin County, but just recently moved up to Asheville and has been helping out with the homeless in that area as well. Right before the break, Kenny was talking about the stimulus package from COVID. And I'm assuming you guys have run into the same thing here in Martin County. Are you able to help many of the homeless get those funds? Because they're substantial, especially when you live in hand to mouth.
So we definitely are. What we've done is we've been very blessed to Brenda's father's a CPA, so he is able to file taxes for them even if they had no income. And that's how you get your stimulus, is you file taxes and then they mail it to that address that you put on your tax return. And so last year they had a website online, the IRS did, that you were able to actually go on and enter all the information, and then they would mail the check. Now they want it this way. They want you to file your taxes. So even if they have a zero income from last year, they still are filed and sent, and we just check off the box that says they haven't received their stimulus checks, and they send them right to the address. And we have a mailing address for them to get mail at our location. So even if they don't have a mailing address, they can just get the checks right here at LaHaya.
And during the break, we were talking a little bit about the homeless here in the area, where their camps are. And Brenda, you brought up something that's very interesting. We all know right now there's a lot of development going on. There's a lot of new condos and apartments and all kinds of stuff, stores. And Brenda, something we didn't think about, but a lot of these places are being built where there was homeless camps. So now the homeless are being displaced.
Correct.
And what do you do?
We don't have a location to recommend, and we don't recommend because a lot of the times it's private property or county property. There are private property owners who have known that people have been on their property for years and are fine with it. It's just undeveloped property, as long as they're not making a commotion or getting calls from the community. They stay pretty quiet and they're able to stay where they're at. But the more development that happens, I mean, we're putting up apartment buildings now in the middle of shopping centers. We're just losing land, and so they're having to spread out a little further, which takes them longer to get to LaHaya for basic services. But they're making do. We have a great ambition to have a transitional housing program. We've got what we need to get it started. Other than land, we need some land. So that's a big deal right now. And when you talk about donations, we've got a very healthy fund going on specifically for that program. It's going to take a bit. So that's definitely in our viewfinder over the next couple of years. But love to get purchase some property at this point.
Well, that would be absolutely wonderful. And I was going to ask you, do you see some cases through success stories? You're here offering a helping hand to anybody that needs it. Are there stories you can share with us that you followed them through, got them back on their feet for folks that just, were on that last paycheck and had no other option, and you folks step in?
So we were blessed to be able to help a gentleman who at 87 years of age had been homeless for 41 years.
Wow.
So we just an adorable little gentleman, and we were able to get him housed and get him some medical help, and he's doing wonderfully. Loves his little place. It's just a 1-bedroom, 1-bath that he's got, but he's just thrilled with the situation. So things like that are really, it's an easy fix. He was living in a freezer prior to this, but he thought it was the safest place ever. So just a great story. I had a young lady come yesterday, and Lisa, and she just wanted to hug me and thank me because she was homeless and didn't have any of the necessary documentation, didn't have any idea. I think that's the biggest thing, is they just don't know the resources that are available to them and the direction. So a lot of what I do is just point them in the right direction. Lisa is now housed. She was diagnosed with lupus, which was the reason that she was not able to get through the day, she was just exhausted all the time. She couldn't figure out what was wrong, couldn't work. And that's what put her, so she was able to file for disability and get it. And now she has a beautiful little apartment and she's content, not having to live in her car or in the woods. So little things like that, it's really just pointing them in the right direction and giving them some support through the process. I think that's what helps people most, more than anything.
Oh, having that support has to be huge. And if you go to Lahia's website, there's a lot of wonderful information on there. But just to run through again, their services include 2 hot meals a day, hot showers, laundry facilities, a clothing pantry, transportation, haircuts. Something that we all take for granted, right? Haircuts, client services. What does that encompass?
So client services, obviously the identification, birth certificates, we provide references or assistance to get into medical, mental health, behavioral health, substance abuse, alcoholism. If they want to go to detox or rehab, we will help pay for the initiation fee so that they can get in there and their application fees. We provide on-site counseling, so spiritual, emotional therapy if they need it. The IRSC, many people don't know this, but if you're homeless, IRSC will give you a free education. You can get your college degree at no cost through IRSC. So
Wow.
We will help give them guidance to get that process in place. Obviously, Social Security and disability applications. My case manager, Barbara, is certified in SOAR, which SOAR is a connection to Social Security disability. And typically for someone to get disability through an attorney or on their own, it's 3 to 5 years. She is so much faster for people and they can get their income as sooner. So obviously bicycles are a big deal. Folks can't get to work if they don't have transportation. So we are able to give those who are looking for work a bicycle. And that just, again, the sheriff's office stepped in and donated a huge number of bicycles to us.
Wonderful.
So we're just really graced with a lot of blessings for our community. We can help them get a cell phone, which is also critical nowadays.
Sure is.
I know I can't walk out of the house without mine.
I can't either.
We can help them with job-related resources, resume creation, internet job search, access to computers and telephones if they don't have it. We will provide a bus ticket to individuals with the partnership of St. Vincent de Paul if somebody is here and they need to get back home. So if we are able to talk to the person, I won't send somebody homeless to homeless, but if somebody will take them in, if somebody's from Michigan and they came down to Florida to live on the beach and then they got here and realized, oh, the bugs are really bad here, then I can send them back to mom or dad or aunt or uncle or sister or brother or whoever. But I do need to talk to them. So transportation on Greyhound or even the local public transportation is helpful. If they are qualified for housing, if they have income, and they have the mental health issue, as we discussed before, and they're homeless, we are able to help them get into housing. And we partner with several of the local landlords to make that as inexpensive for them as possible. So we're very grateful for that. We can connect them to legal services, domestic violence referrals, and then obviously pregnancy, family planning, HIV or STD, anything like that. We also do that as well.
You also talk on here tents.
Mm-hmm.
Provide tents. I mean, that's if you don't have a home, obviously that's the best kind of shelter to have. So that's huge that people can come to you. Shelter is just such a basic necessity. Brent Wahlberg is commenting here on Facebook. He made an interesting comment. He talked about a sister that has a farm in Kentucky and brought a homeless person on there to help with the farm animals. And he said you could not have anybody more caring. And this person is just fabulous and just loves the animals and works hard. So, he's talked about how small farms have kind of gone away throughout America. And, in the past, that actually was a huge employer for a lot of people that certainly here. I mean, Are you struggling with jobs and what kind of jobs that they can attain?
So we have a lot of jobs right now out there, so that's about the blessing. So typically that's really great. We do have a client that did move to a farm and ended up taking care of the farmers' animals here locally, which is absolutely wonderful. And it was a perfect fit for him. But right now, a lot of the restaurants are in need of assistance. A lot of the retail jobs are in need. So a lot of our clients work, even if they're sleeping in a tent, dealing with mosquitoes all night long, they still get up and take a shower and go to work, or they can take a shower after work at our location as well. So I honestly don't know how they do it, because, I sometimes struggle getting out of bed, and I live in a home.
Right.
So it's just amazing that these people have the fortitude to get up every day and go to work. And they're wanting to get out of the situation that they're in, and they really are driving to make that happen.
Again, we're speaking with Yvette Gregory and Brenda Dickerson from La Jolla, and we have Kenny Hinkle on the line that's working with the homeless up in Asheville, North Carolina. Brenda, just if there's something you can tell the folks in Martin County about the homeless and the amount of homeless here in the county, what would you say to them? Just to wake people up, because you don't always see them. You really don't in Martin County, but it's a huge number.
Yeah, I've lived here since I was 5, and I didn't even realize until 2007 when La Jolla first got founded that we even had a homeless population. But I just happened to notice someone suddenly leave the sidewalk and wander off in a little path. And then I was aware of a little community that was being leveled, and it displaced a group of folks that had a lot of disabilities to West Palm, and that bothered me. Found out that there was some other people who wanted to make a difference and do something, and like I mentioned before, that's how La Jolla got started. But I don't think people realize all the different dynamics that are included in people that are homeless or experiencing homelessness, what brings them to that point. We call them different names, and we have our own preconceived ideas of why they're homeless and why they'll always be homeless. But like we said before, a lot of us are just one paycheck away, one accident, one job loss, one divorce, a death, a disease. I mean, there's so many things that are contributors to this big problem. And we're not an overnight shelter. We don't call ourselves a shelter because of that, connotation that we have beds, which we don't at this point. But we are a daytime resource center for the homeless and indigent in Martin County, and now with PATH, spreading out to the 3 adjoining counties as well. So I don't recommend giving money. When you see them panhandling, it's going to go in their vein or it's going to go in their liver. There's places to eat, and there's places to get assistance, like at La Jolla and House of Hope and Elevate Hope. Now Family Promise of Martin County is assisting homeless families. There's a lot of help. So direct them to us, buy them a meal, sit and have a conversation with them. But when you're giving them money, if you feel particularly impressed to give them money, go for it. But just be aware that it's not helping them. There's a lot of resources.
What you just mentioned, where a gift certificate or food, something that that they're going to use and something that they actually need, would be a better avenue if you're compelled to help folks rather than, I can understand that, because that was going to be a question I was going to ask you, is what do you do? Because you see people panhandling, they come up and they ask you for money, and of course, what is the best thing that can help them, and directing them to you is obviously utmost important. But
I want to share our mission statement. We just revamped it just a couple weeks ago. We've been in business for 14 years now, so it's time to do a little upgrading. But our mission is to demonstrate Jesus Christ's love for the homeless and indigent by meeting their physical and spiritual needs. That encompasses a lot. Our vision is, we envision a community of acceptance for the homeless and indigent, where they can find salvation, employment, housing, and independence. And again, that vision encompasses a lot too. So there's a lot of things that we are able to do for them, and a lot more that we'd love to do. I told Yvette the other day, I feel like we're just getting started. There's still so much to do, and transitional housing is such a huge puzzle piece that's been missing. And being able to get the more at-risk people off the streets and out of their cars through PATH was a real jumping off point for us. And we've been very inspired to push hard for this. And we've got folks in the county that are very, what's the word I want to say? They're behind us.
Okay.
And we've been doing a lot of talking. So definitely looking for some property. And I want to back up to the bikes. We're accepting ready to ride bikes right now. We've got plenty that need work and not enough time to get them fixed. So 3-wheeled bikes and beach cruisers are our current need.
Are you finding, and can you go to the, I'm sure you have, but the county commission, are there properties within the county that the county commission is supportive of helping to build your transitional place? is that an option? I know that obviously everybody's intertwined here in the community, whether it's government and people and organizations such as yourself that's nonprofit.
They're partnering with us to find the right property. We are, they want to make sure that it's zoned correctly, that permitting is not
Right.
going to be a huge issue. So they are really working with us. We've been grateful that our commissioner has been very supportive. All the commissioners have been very supportive, and growth management has just been working with us hand in hand to make sure that we find the right location. So we are getting full support from the county and are just really grateful for that. So, these people, to a lot of folks, are invisible. Our homeless people are invisible. So I think the best thing that we can do is just love them. They're just like any human being. They want to know that they are seen, that they are,
They're not forgotten.
Exactly.
They're real people.
They're important.
They're real people with real needs.
Kenny, I can hear you on the other end. You are anxious to say something because this is exactly
dying
what
to
you're
jump in on
doing.
that one.
Please do.
Every conversation I've had with them, they all feel invisible, snubbed. People look away instead of looking at them. Have a conversation with them. A lot of them have great stories and love to talk. And they're not scary people for the most part. If you sit down with them and just have a conversation with them, they'll open up, and they would love to talk to people. And that's what I'm finding. And I'll just, I'll sit down with them on the sidewalk or wherever they are and listen to their stories. They want to tell their story.
And everybody has a story, don't they? And I bet, Kenny, share with us, what's a surprising story to you? Everybody has a first impression and makes an assumption they shouldn't. They always say, never assume. I won't say why, but there is a saying about assuming. Tell us a story about what, you might have had a different first impression. And when you heard the story, it was awakening to you.
One was an Afghan vet. And a lot of people lie about their military service, and I know I served. My dad was 25 years Special Forces in the Army, so I know all the lingo. But when it's genuine, and here's a vet that fought for our country, and he's just down on his luck, and he's got PTSD, and he's trying to get help to the VA, and he told me stories about Afghanistan and the fighting over there and how he lost his friend. And I mean, just to hear some of these stories, and I knew it was legit with him. And then there's others. I mean, they lost their job because of COVID. Restaurant worker, they had to shut down, and it was a single mom trying to support her kid, and all of a sudden that's gone overnight. And unemployment worked for a while, but it doesn't pay enough. I mean, $250 a week, it's not going to get you very far.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
And it's like you were talking about the price of housing. A 1-1 is $1,100 to $1,300 a month. $250 doesn't get you anywhere. And if you don't have the first, last, and deposit, you're not going to get anywhere either.
So it's truly,
I think
it's a huge problem.
I think the biggest thing we can do, once I started spreading the word that they qualified for the stimulus package, you wouldn't believe the eyes light up, and like, really? They didn't even know about it. A lot of them, they don't have the news. They don't have the TV. They don't have,
Right.
I've been doing this all individually. I haven't really worked with the organizations yet. I'm having difficulty getting through all the red tape that's involved there. I took a bunch of restaurant workers with me, and we went and did a camp cleanup because they were only allowed to have the nonprofit was only allowed to have 12 people go out at a time. I got everybody, and we went and cleaned it up. we asked the city of Asheville to put a dumpster near the campsite, and they did for a day, and we filled the thing up. So, and the camp residents helped us. They don't want to live in filth.
Brent, absolutely, Kenny. Brenda and Yvette, I know you can't see them, but they're here shaking their head, and they know exactly what you're going through. They've done the same thing here in the area. And what a great idea, just pitching in. And it sounds like Kenny's got some red tape up in North Carolina. Do you find any of that here where you can only have so many people helping?
No. There was an area across the street from us that's owned by a church that they had been letting the folks stay there for years and years while they were working on developing a plan to build. It got to be a little too much over there. So one of our staff said, let's have a community cleanup. And we had over a dozen, and Yvette and her husband were out there as well. Just cleaned up like crazy. Waste management came by, saw that what they were doing, and the guy said, I'll be right back. And he went back to the plant, emptied his truck, got permission from a manager to come, and he cleaned up all of it with their help, putting it in for free to get it off the road. And since then, the sheriff's department's asked our folks to come clean up an area that didn't have homeless camps, but it just needed to be cleaned up, and knew that we had been doing it. So we've done 3 different areas, done major cleanups. It's probably time for another one, but our folks love to pitch in and help. They don't have the dumpster nearby. Ours only holds so much, and a lot of them do keep their camps clean and take pride of, it's their home, it's where they're at.
But they try to, yeah, but they need help. They need somewhere to put it, and somebody to pick it up.
Just like we do.
That's the big thing.
Right. They don't have a service that comes by in front of our driveway. You don't have that. It's a big issue. So, you talked about that. So it's not just finances you need. It sounds like good old manpower is also something you can always use, certainly with events like this where you're doing cleanups around the area. So if you don't have the money to give, that's fine, but you can always, in a second, Kenny, you can always pitch in and help.
Right. And our volunteers, we went for the first 8 to 10 years with no paid staff. Everybody was a volunteer pitching in, doing what needed to be done. And as we've grown, of course, we needed to have paid staff and that kind of stability. But to this day, our volunteers and our donors is what really keeps us motivated, encouraged. Encouragement is oxygen to the soul. I love that phrase. And they feed into us and we feed into them. They're the ones that are doing the meals and the serving and the cleanup and transportation a lot of times, food drives. So volunteers are definitely the key to what we're doing.
And so, Brenda, you've seen a lot of changes over the years because you were there from the very start. I'm not sure, Yvette, if you were as well, but tell us a little bit about what you're most proud of the organization accomplishing over the years that you've been with it.
Oh, goodness. Just to go from a cookout once a week to 6 days, full service. I found not too long ago my typed up wish list, what our dreams were, what we needed to be able to accomplish what we are today. And I was able to check off every cotton pick in one of them, except for transitional housing, which we know is going to happen. So, God has been tremendously favorable. Was an anonymous donor's gift back in 2015. The place was for sale. We had nowhere to go. We didn't have any money put together. He came through on a weekend when we were closed, wanted to remain anonymous, has since passed, but wired the entire purchase price to us within a month and a half of meeting him. And now we have roots, and that made us, more reliable in the community's eyes. So, yeah, miracle after miracle. You can't work in a place different than this and see so many neat things, just lots of God winks all the time.
That's absolutely right. And you're doing such great work. It's wonderful that God should shine down on you because, that's what it's about as humans helping each other, right? You're not judging anybody. They're in this position. They need assistance at this point, not judgment.
And we're doing it for him. I just want to say for those that the donors would like to know, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, tax exempt, faith-based organization. So we've dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's.
And obviously any donations, whether it's manpower, financial, they're all in need, and they're looking for land. We've said this on the program earlier, but they want to have the transitional housing. They need land right now. So anybody that knows of land, whether, if you're able to donate it, all the best, right?
Something close by. We'd want to be able to let them still come to us for their main meals and the basic services. So bicycle distance, walking distance, even better. We are at 1760 Southeast Salerno Road, just west of the IRSC Chastain campus and Cleveland Clinic. I keep trying to call it Martin. Just west of the intersection of Willoughby and Salerno Road is our physical location.
So if folks run into homeless people here in the area, how can they get them to your location? If the homeless person doesn't have transportation, of course, how do they get there?
Just come on over. I mean, drop them off. Give them our address. Our phone number is 772-781-7002. Leave a message on the weekends. Somebody will call back. If you go on the website again, www.lahia.org, it has our address, phone number. You can email us through that venue, and someone will get right back to you.
It's absolutely wonderful. We're winding down. We have just a couple minutes left here, but this is a wonderful organization here in Martin County. It's an issue that is much larger than what it appears as we're all driving down and busy in our little lives. We don't realize there's people that are struggling here in our community, and a lot of them. So having your organization, it's lahia.org. If you can go there, and absolutely donations, manpower, whatever, donations of clothes, food, any of those things, anything and everything helps. One thing that I think Kenny touched on a little bit earlier, and it just tugs at my heart, as well as children, is the veterans. They fought for our country, and I know that that's a pretty big issue with the veterans as well. To see that they're homeless, it shouldn't happen here in America. I mean, it should be for anybody, but somebody that fights for the country. So, God bless you guys for being out there and reaching out to help everybody. We're going to sign off. I'm going to start with you. Kenny, we got 1 minute, so keep it short, but what's one thing you'd tell the folks about the homeless that you want them to know?
Acknowledge them.
Acknowledge
Let
them.
them know they're there. Don't look away. Don't pretend like you don't see them. Acknowledge them. Say hello.
Yvette, how about you?
Every single one of us is a child of God, and we just really need to recognize that our purpose for being here is to show love and compassion to those that are around us.
And of course, Brenda Dickerson, I'll finish up here with you. What is the one thing you want folks to keep in mind as we see the homeless?
I just have to echo what both of Kenny and Yvette are saying. They are individuals. They all have souls. A lot of our folks have a family member. The ones that donate and are volunteers, they have a family member who is homeless, and that's why they have such love. So just be kind.
Be kind. Thank you, Brenda Dickerson, Yvette Gregory, Kenny Hinkle. Appreciate your insight today. And again, God bless all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.